Siyabonga kakhulu ngokubuya elikwenzileyo, and this marks the beginning of our ceremony. So like I said, we need to have that deep understanding of who Rashid was as a family person. I think everyone is born of a family. So the starting point is for us to give this opportunity to his family. So his nephew will come to the front and then tell us about Rashid Mohammed Jogee. Simchayile izandla unephew Mohammed Jogee.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to have you guys here to remember my uncle. He was a man who was out of this world. He was very family orientated. He loved his family. He took great pride in caring for his family. As an artist, he was something special. I remember as a child growing up, he had a studio in the backyard of his home, and we used to play there, and he used to give us charcoal pieces and paper to draw, to write, and we used to play with his paints, and he used to allow us to do whatever we needed to do in his studios. I myself do a bit of art as well, so I think I took it from him, and I hope to carry on with it. I don't do it as a profession, I do it just as a pastime, but yeah, I hope to carry on with his art and keep the Jogee name in the art galleries going. What more can I say about him? He was just a wonderful man. And wherever you are, Uncle, the sky is your canvas now.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Jogee. I want to assure you that as the visual arts community, your loss is our loss. We commiserate with you. We thank you for coming and allowing us to share your grief with us. We proceed with the program by then, inviting a representative from the Visual Arts Association of Bulawayo. This is the flagship institution that supports the visual artists in Bulawayo. And Rashid Jogee was one of the founding members of that particular association. So we want to hear how VAAB has evolved over the years and what legacy, has been bestowed to us by Rashid Jogee. So in Zabiza, Charles Nkomo, who is also a member of the Visual Artists Association of Bulawayo, to come and share with us particularly how Jogee contributed to the visual arts landscape of Bulawayo and what challenge they are taking forward as visual artists. Charles Nkomo.
Morning, everyone. Standing here for VAAB, we really lost a friend, a brother, a father to the association of Bulawayo and Zimbabwe as a whole. Rashid was one of a kind, yet that kind of a heart of which I cannot describe to anyone. He was a loving somebody. if you could have stayed quite a long time without seeing him, the time he will see you, you will scream out your name or your surname. Nkomo, Kungu, Voti, you know, he was that kind of a person. So as an association, we really lost someone who was a pillar to us. I remember when I started joining VAAB, when I was still a young guy, coming out from Ziligas, I found the association was already born. It was him, the likes of Voti Thebe, Jeanette Johnson, Barry Bickle. Those were the people who grew us in art. Those were the people who pushed us to be where we are now. Without him, there is a big gap that is left in us as an association. He used to push us in the class, the life drawing class. Every time you will say, let's contribute, let's be there in the life drawing class. Now we see the gap that our mentor left with us. So it's a task that is left within the young people, within the VAAB, to take it to another level where our member took it to. So sile ngqobe ezisele kithi sonke esingama-artisti aku-VAAB. Let's take this thing where Rashid left it into another level. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles Nkomo, representing the Visual Artists Association of Bulawayo. I also want to recognize VAAB Mpofu from the Ministry of Youth. He is the provincial head here in Bulawayo. You know, when I joined the gallery 2 years ago, one of the first visual artists that I visited was Rashid at his house, 144 4th Street, you know, 154. 144, yeah. So I remember he kept, you know, a visitor register, and he insisted that we sign that particular register. So to the family, I know that register has become a very important, you know, historical asset. You know, it catalogs all the individuals that have visited his home over the many years. So it's something that I'm particularly encouraging you to keep safely for future reference. You know, then we progress with our solidarity speeches. We then at this point invite Charles Msimanga, another legendary visual artist here in Bulawayo, which what Rashid and his legacy mean to the visual arts in Bulawayo. Charles Nkomo. Charles is also a member of the Friends of the Gallery Committee.
Good morning. First of all, I would say I'm sad to have lost a friend that I have known since 1970. I knew Jogee in the early 70s when I used to go to Palace Hotel where George Alex Lambert used to hold art classes in the evenings. It was every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we would be there all the time for life drawing, still life drawings. And Rashid, at that time, used to experiment a lot and would go along with some of the suggestions and the like. And at a later stage, I got employed at Mzilikazi and would invite Jogee to share ideas with a lot of students who attended Mzilikazi. He would cycle all the way to Mzilikazi or use the bus. At that time, we used to have buses going to Mpilo via the Art and Craft Center. It used to be fun. And after that was Steve Williams, who became the manager of Mzilikazi. We formed the VAAB Association. I was the secretary, I think, and Rashid was also one of the committee members. There was a lot of encouragement from him that we do workshops which were done in several areas. Pachipamwe, if some of you remember, would go and camp out, and to him it was quite fun. One thing I remember about Jogee is that he never had a dull moment with the artist, because, as already mentioned, he would shout your name if he hadn't seen you for some time. With us, we would just come and greet you, but Rashid would shout your name as you enter the door. That's how he used to greet his friends. And I noticed that Rashid used to live alone, but all the time, if there is an exhibition or an exhibition opening, will be with Rashid until late. And I think, to me, his commitment was above most of us. And he loved his work, and he loved the people he worked with. If there is anybody in the room here who would remember a time he was angry with Rashid, I think it's 1 out of 1,000. Rashid was a friend. Thank you.
And no one would ever, question him about that. He had the freedom of the gallery. That was Rashid for you. We then invite Shamila Asha, also a visual artist based here in Bulawayo, to also make her own remarks about Rashid. Thank you. And this event is streaming live on the National Gallery of Zimbabwe in Bulawayo Facebook page. So for those who may not be here but want to follow the proceedings later, they can visit our page, as well as the Center for Information and Technology Facebook page, where they can follow the event. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone, to the family, our condolences. If you'd allow me to say all protocol observed. My experiences with Rashid started when I started coming to the gallery. After school, that was in 1996. And I don't actually remember meeting him. I just remember from that time on, he was just always here. He was just a permanent fixture at exhibitions. always a source of encouragement. So I wasn't sure what I was going to share with you today. I just wanted to share my experience with him in one particular exhibition that we had. It was a live exhibition. It was called Poetic Brush. And we were painting to music or painting to poetry on stage. And I think to understand Rashid's work was to see him working. It was almost like performance art. In this one particular event, this particular night, Rashid was on stage, and he didn't use a lot. He just needed his canvas, his paintbrushes. His palettes were the lids of the buckets of paint, those painters. That's what he used, because he used these giant paintbrushes. His trousers were rolled up, bare feet. He had his incense stick burning. I think they let him smoke on stage, I can't remember. And he was there, and he stared at this canvas for about 5-10 minutes. And he was talking to himself. You could see he was having a conversation with himself. And all of a sudden, there was just paint on the canvas. And there was no hesitation with Jogee when he painted. It was just a stab paint. And he'd use the charcoal, and he would write. And the charcoal on the work, the lines, the gestures, there were letters that he used to write. He painted to music, and he was communicating. And there'd be a dash of paint, and it was furious. If you blinked, you'd miss it. And then you think it's done. And then you look up, and there's another layer of paint, and what was there is now gone, and there's something else on top. And it was this progression of layers of painting, of writing. And that's when I started to understand Jogee's process. And when he spoke about his work, you could now relate it to his process. And I've carried some of that into my work, and that's what I'll take with me. And when we found out that he had passed on, you realize that this man lived alone. And I was having a conversation with a colleague, and I said to him, I don't think Rashid was alone. He was surrounded by his work. His work was those were his companions. It was beyond just having paintings on the walls. Those were his companions. And he conversed, and he spoke, and this is what I'm imagining. So that is my last image of Rashid, being surrounded by his work, being in his own space, and going peacefully. So I hope wherever he is, he's with Stephen and Marshall, and they're having a good time, and he's not alone, he's with friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shamila. There's a statement that you made that particularly struck me. He was not alone, he was surrounded by his work. It is indeed true, his home is a gallery of sorts. If you visit now, you will be able to see works of art hung on his walls. He lived and worked art throughout his life. We progress to the next solidarity speech, which will be given by Voti Thebe, former director here at the National Gallery in Bulawayo, also a member of the Friends of the Gallery Committee, who worked a lot with Rashid over the years. Baba Thebe.
I am leaving on a church plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh baby, I hate to go. It's so many times I've played around, so many times I've fooled around. But when I come back, I'll wear your wedding ring, I'll wear your ring. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. He has gone. These are the songs we used to sing with Rashid. He was a character, a friend, a comrade, a pecadot. He was everything, very accommodative. And he knew what he wanted to do. I remember one time we had a visiting artist who did realistic work, and Rashid was there. That artist told Rashid to do what the artist wanted. Rashid refused. He said, "That's not my line." And he walked out of that workshop because it wasn't his line. That's Rashid. He was everything to us. At a workshop, we would laugh with him. He would speak Sindebele. Nyani sisibili. Thebe, nyani sisibili. That was his. Pamberi. That was Rashid. Aluta continua. He was a character, very accommodative. Waelo buntu, Rashid. You walk into his house, the door was always open. He never locked his door. I don't know these days. Even if he's not there, you try his door, you'd open up, you go inside. Rashid is not there. There are other institutions where I wish those doors will be opened, whereby an artist can just walk in. I was challenged one time when I went on one of the trips abroad, where I was teaching in one of the schools. They gave me a master key, and they told me this key opens every door, save for the door to the safe where money is. If you want art materials, you can go to any storeroom. If you want food, I thought they were lying. How could they trust an African? That key opened all the doors. And I realized that I have to be a reliable person and leave a good mark for us Africans, for us blacks. Rashid, waithe angafika nkhaya so, he would eat amaqimbi. He would eat this. I would miss him. I would miss him for the chakalaka. He used to bring that. Let me just read you something I wrote about him. A very charismatic person, Rashid. Nyani sisibili. Art allows mankind to ascend. Art allows mankind to ascend. Rashid will stress a point. An artist with a double antenna, capable of assimilating information on the canvas. A double antenna, one that picks up, the one that picks down, and he was capable of doing that. Jogee has always been ready. In colonial times, yes, he suffered like us in colonial times. In colonial times, to present, to appreciate the complexity of our daily experience with an ability to self-reflection. He has forged new identities in the midst of rapid change. That's Rashid. Abangani bami bakhuluma kabi, izihlobo zami zihlangene ngami, bafuna ukuyikhipha lento engene kimi, ngithi hayi salani kahle.
Siyabonga. Thank you very much for the colorful speech, Baba Thebe. Thank you very much. It shows that you had a very cordial working relationship with Rashid. Siyabonga. We have 2 works of art on display, abstract pieces of art. These were done by Rashid Jogee. So when Shamila speaks of a big brush, these are the strokes that you can clearly attribute to the big brushes that he used. There will be more of his work that will display at some point in time when we do a retrospective exhibition in celebration of his legacy. But for now, these are just part 2 samples of his big body of work that he produced over the years. So the last person for solidarity speeches for this particular segment of the program is Bickle. I saw a picture on Facebook, a young you and a young Rashid. I don't know, where was that? I think you were holding cigarettes, the 2 of you, if I'm not mistaken. I'm particularly interested in the story of that picture. Please, Barry.
I would really like to thank the Bulawayo National Gallery for holding this memorial. I think that perhaps to actually understand that part of Rashid's legacy is this very building. From the very beginning that Darsland House became a possibility, before there was even a builder, a lick of paint, an architect, we had occupied what then became the artist studios, where it was this sort of determination to declare this space for the artists of Bulawayo. And in a sense, the occupation was around life drawing classes, where really we established that sense of an artistic presence that must be very vital to the running of the gallery. And part of our demands, in a way, for how we visualized what we wanted from this National Gallery was always the presence of artists. And Rashid was the person who carried that amongst us till the very end. To Rashid, this was home. And so I think to hold the memorial here is very important for our combined histories, and certainly for Rashid. So, in a sense, what I would perhaps like to talk about is Rashid and I have history. We work together as colleagues, as dearest friends, since the 80s. And I think that perhaps to understand maybe the depth is we had so much ground to cover. We came from a segregated society. We came from a bitter war. We came from such damage. And in a sense, as Voti so beautifully said, there was a real urgency in which things must be bridged, things must be rectified. Where there was division, there must be healing. Where there was separation, there must be understanding. And perhaps in a way, once again to refer to the National Gallery, that was part of the vision. The part of the vision is how the National Gallery must be for the city of Bulawayo, part of what incorporated an entire city that had such a legacy of division. And Rashid was very clear on that vision and how that was part of the greater society of the city to which he loved. That's what I can say. The other is, the photograph is 144 4th Street. That was Rashid's ship. That was his vessel. And for me, in a sense, that was always my dock. Whenever I came to Bulawayo, for many years I was not here, but the place I could always return, the place that I always arrived is at 104 40th Street, with Rashid. Our conversations were endless. They were hours. Our tea drinking, our smoking cigarettes. And in one sense, 144 4th Street was iconic. It was iconic for an artist's life in Bulawayo, and that was Rashid. He maintained his integrity. He maintained the integrity of his origins. He maintained the integrity of his culture, of his religion, of his family, of his absolute commitment to being an artist. My thoughts have, in the last few days, been very much around the art of Rashid. How did he manage? And there is one really beautiful story that I would like to tell you, maybe because it cheered me up so much. But at the awards ceremony in the National Gallery of Harare, when he was given the Award of Excellence by the late president, Rashid went up the ramp and hugged the president. There was a moment of absolute suspension. Nobody knew what to do. Not a soldier, nobody, not a security officer, not the president himself, nobody. There was time, was absolutely suspended. How did he do it? But yet he did it. He hugged the president. And for that, I have thought about that these last three days and thought that was the miracle of Rashid. The art of being Rashid was Rashid, and how he managed in sometimes the most hostile sense of what it was in one sense to be an artist, to be an abstract artist, to allow himself to not only be understood, but never wait. He didn't wait for anybody to ever validify his life. He found his validity himself. And his integrity was such that that validity carried through everything, his entire being, his authenticity, his generosity, his love. And I am eternally grateful and will be to Rashid. I would perhaps like to also share with you some of the processes of actually how he worked, and perhaps to understand how his work was this journey. Every painting for him was never finished until the journey was finished. He would often begin with the most sublime surfaces, these lyrical, gorgeous, light, beautiful, full of calligraphy, full of things to him that were so the Quran, poetry, Miles Davis, whatever it might be that was the trigger for that particular work. And every single work had its purpose before he even began. These sublime, gorgeous, light, lyrical, beautiful works. And then there would be a torturous process of those who would watch it, where the entire work would disappear. He would sacrifice something so sublime. It was as if he would have to drag that canvas through volcanic ashes, through an ocean. And there was never ever a sense of any regret. And we would see this turn to a process that was so hard to actually understand. And then slowly would be what I would call the redemption. He would bring it back. And through that process, what he would leave you with was a map. And the map would take you through the journey and the processes of every painting. And they were like these beautiful crystal windows that took you to a place of light in which Rashid was prepared to go through darkness to actually re-excavate, make it precious. And I would like to say to Rashid, sorry, excuse me, my dearest friend, you remain with us, and ahamba kahle khulu.
Thank you very much, Barry, for the emotional tribute. It was heartfelt. It shows that indeed you have a strong historical connection with Rashid, and I know you will carry his legacy forward. There is no doubt in my mind that number 144 4th Street has become an art museum of sorts. You know, those who were privileged to set foot there would know that it was always a gallery. Now that the owner is no more, it evolves to become an art museum of sorts. I don't know what the family has in store in terms of that particular space, but as an outsider, that is what I see the space, you know, evolving into. Then moving to the last segment of the program, I did mention earlier on that Rashid was one of those artists who had been identified by the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe for honor. I will then take this opportunity to invite the Director of the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, Moyo, to come and share his remarks from the perspective of the Arts Council. Moyo, same child is
I would like to recognize the family of Rashid, and from the bottom of my heart express our sincere condolence to the family, especially the Rashid family, on the passing away of Rashid. May God comfort you, not just now, but in many years to come, because the legacy that Rashid has carved for himself means you will have to interface with Rashid in many years to come. I recognize my colleague, the director of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, Chikukwa, and much more from the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Voti Thebe, and the generality of the arts community here in Bulawayo. This guy, you'll agree with me, was a character and a half. I think you just heard the speaker that came here. You know, he was a nice guy, but he was a character and a half. Rashid knew no protocol, didn't care about protocol. Everyone has said, he will shout for your name wherever. Whether the function has started or not, if he sees you, he will shout. You know, when I was here in Bulawayo, you'll know there is no exhibition where Rashid is not there. And when he appears, he will shout, Mr. Moyo, Maibu Africa. So I used to say that's his mark, because he was a true African. He understood the pains that the arts industry in Africa, in Zimbabwe more particular, was going through. Rashid was quite articulate about issues that needed to be addressed, but was so positive about going forward about his work. And as National Arts Council, we are saddened by untimely death of Rashid. Why do I say untimely? I had a conversation with Rashid on the 27th of February, which is exactly last Saturday. We spoke for about 11 minutes on the phone. I'd called him. And I was explaining, first I was calling him to congratulate him that he has been selected by Zimbabwe to receive an honor, which we really say a presidential honor for the creative industries, where the government of Zimbabwe, through the National Arts Council, will honor 40 legends, those that have had an impact, not just that their art has been good, but they had an impact in their own communities. They've raised and mentored people. And Rashid was one of them. So I was calling him to congratulate him and inform him. So we took time. About 11 minutes we were talking on the phone. That's on Saturday. And I said to Rashid, the following weekend, we'll be in Bulawayo to present that award to you. So we were so happy, and we were supposed to do it tomorrow. He was looking forward to that. Very sad indeed. We're coming from this exercise in Moyo, I think on Thursday, and by the time we got network, then I got a message on my phone. I think it was coming from Voti Thebe. And Voti Thebe was saying, Nick, Rashid is no more. You know how I remarked in the car, it shocked everyone because people felt something had gone. And for me, that message, it was as if it's a relative that had passed on. Because I've had such an immediate contact, and I was looking forward to coming, and he says, no, I don't want to receive it at the gallery, you come to my house. You know, and I was already psyched for it. Sadly, Rashid himself is not here to receive his award. And this award, by the way, have been meant for living legends. Because as the director of the National Arts Council, to be honest, it's tiring to be going from one funeral to another, talking about how good somebody had been. And in the arts, we've been moving from one funeral to another. And people start saying, whoa, is this what this person was doing? How come we never heard about it? How come we never saw it? And we decided as National Arts Council that we will honor living legends, 40 of them. Celebrate them when they are alive. Let them feel that the country is honoring them when they are alive for the work that they have done. We had an exercise that included galleries, all galleries in this country, arts organizations in this country, including VAAB, people that have been worked in the visual arts and all the arts. And I want to say we had about 254 entries of legends in this country, coming from all organizations in this country, and many organizations here in Bulawayo. And when it was reduced, the list was reduced to 99. And that group of 99 was then taken to a team of experts, a jury in each subsector that knew the people. I stand here not to make you think because we are celebrating the life of Rashid. But when we came to identifying the top 5 legends in the visual arts in this country, the jury ensured that Rashid was in the top 3 without argument. It was by consensus. The other 2 was a hustle. Our jury took more than 48 hours to agree, but not for Rashid. And therefore, I stand here as the director of the Arts Council, proud to celebrate a man who lived a full life and contributed to the landscape of the visual arts in this country in a very positive way. We're told about the drama of hugging the then President Robert Mugabe. You know, when you break protocol, you know how many people will be standing there, well positioned, you know. And I think he had calculated, and he knew exactly what angle and what I'm going to do. That's Rashid for you. But today, I'm here to celebrate that man. I know he was then later selected to go to Venice, Biennale. It's not easy. Everyone wants to be there. But Rashid is in the history books of Zimbabwe in the visual arts for that. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to ensure that, because he had already been selected, so honestly, I don't see this as a posthumous award, no. Because he already knew and he was waiting that we do the recording tomorrow. So it's not a posthumous. But however, he's not here himself to receive it. And we will still give to the family so that you can cherish and put it in that museum and say, yes, this man died at work. When he went to glory, he was still at work. He was honored living. And our trophy, just briefly, it has just been designed for our legends, those that have received the NAMA. The NAMA trophy doesn't look like this. But we have added one feature, which is the independence flame of Zimbabwe, the eternal flame. Because we believe the life of Rashid did not end on Thursday morning. It did not end yesterday. It's not ending today by this service. But that life, the legacy of Rashid, is eternal. Let it illuminate, it should be talked about. When people are trained, we want the name Rashid Jogee to live forever. Allow me at this juncture to invite a member of the family who is going to receive on behalf of Rashid Jogee, and also invite the Chief Director in the ministry, Voti Thebe, to make that presentation. Then Voti Thebe will then make the remarks for this memorial. Ladies and gentlemen, I will invite you all. Let's give that ovation. Let's give Rashid a standing ovation. He's worthy that.
On behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, on behalf of the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, on behalf of the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, and on behalf of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, I present this award to Rashid Mohammed Jogee for the living legacy that of his works. Thank you.
He's the brother to Rashid. We'll ask him just to say few remarks in receiving this award.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. For me, it's an honor to receive this on behalf of my late brother. And I do thank the council for giving this honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Jogee family for accepting to come and receive this honor on behalf of our departed dear artist Rashid Jogee. I then at this point have the honor to invite the Executive Director of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, whom I also indicated to you earlier on that he was very fond of Rashid, which is why he took the journey to Bulawayo to be with us today. Ubaba Raphael Chikukwa laye athi fahla fahla mayelana ngoRashid and how they've worked together over the years. Ubaba Chikukwa.
Thank you very much, Director Baba Nyati. Firstly, I would like to recognize the presence of the Chief Director, Dr. Thebe, from our Ministry of Youth, Sports, Arts and Recreation. Also want to recognize the presence of the Director of National Arts Council, Ubaba Moyo, and also want to recognize the family of Rashid, the brother, the nephew, and the whole family, and for allowing us to give this opportunity to celebrate Rashid, who remains with us through his work, through his smiles, through his countless cup of teas that we have had, those who have been to the house. On behalf of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, and on behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, which is represented here by Dr. Thebe, and also on behalf of the family of Rashid, who is mainly the artist of the world. Rashid has got so many friends dotted around the world, dotted around New York, London, Paris, Berlin, Nairobi, and India, and many other places that Rashid has been to. It's not easy to stand here to talk about a man we loved, a man who has left a mark, not only in this country, but around the globe. When I got the message from Marjorie Wallace, I had to communicate with colleagues here, and we had to go to the house. Went to the house and verified the message, and came back and managed to also talk to the director, Ubaba Ubuto, and I was battling with my team at the National Gallery in Harare, also battling with the other colleagues like Tapfuma, who was also a big friend of Rashid. But I would also want to say to the family, your loss is our loss. It is a loss to the art landscape of the world, to the art landscape of this country, which Rashid was part and parcel of the member of this family, and most importantly in this gallery here in Bulawayo, where Rashid, most of the time when he's tired in his house, he would come and spend time here in the gallery. And most of the time when some of us come all the way from Harare, we would spend time with him here, we would spend time with him in the house. But I want to go back to what Barry Ubaba Voti has said. When Rashid and other members started Pachipangwe, which was a very important workshop to the history and to the art landscape of this country, Rashid played an important role in making sure that the visibility and of the practice of visual arts in this country continues. Pachipangwe was one of those iconic workshops that illuminated Rashid and many artists. That includes one of the world celebrated artists, Chris Ofili, and some of the celebrated artists that includes Barry, Tapfuma, and many others. But I would also want to go back to an exhibition which Rashid was among the second group that went to represent Zimbabwe at the Venice Biennale in 2013, which was called the 55th Venice Biennale. The first group that went to the Venice Biennale included Barry Bickle, Tafuma Gutsa, Kelvin Dondo, and Mishek Masambu. The Venice Biennale is like the World Cup of Visual Arts. And you don't just get selected to represent the country, but you get selected when your time comes, but you also get selected because of who you are and what you have done in your practice and what the curator thinks your impact could make in the global art world. And in 2013, I would like to say in 2012, I remember coming here in Bulawayo with my team. We spent time at Rashid's studio. We spent time, I don't know how many cups of tea we have had in that studio, going through Rashid's work, going through what he has done in the past. And we saw it fit, myself and the commissioner of the Zimbabwe Pavilion, the former director of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, Mrs. Doreen Sibanda, with the title of the exhibition, which was entitled Root Zero, interrogating the visions of religious beliefs. And here I would like to say we all have our religious beliefs. And the idea of this exhibition was to interrogate those beliefs. And the artists who were selected were two artists from Bulawayo, Voti Thebe and Rashid Jogee. Why it was important for these two? It was because we also wanted to celebrate their life. We wanted to celebrate their contribution to the visual art landscape of this country and to the visual art landscape of the continent. This is why Rashid was then joined by a group of young Zimbabwean artists. That includes Portia Jovaera, Virginia Chiota, and Michele Mathison. The young artists alone could not just be those representing the young talent, but they needed anchors with them. And Rashid and Ubaba Vot were the anchors to make sure that that ship, which was going to represent the country, was going to sail in the waters of Venice, in the waters of the global art scene with the two pillars. And we are saying this as National Gallery because Rashid and Ubaba Vot, and I have to say this because there were many doubting Thomases. And I'm saying this emotionally because I know that there were so many, those who want to remain our teachers, those who want to sing for us, those who do not see us as our own teachers, because they do not believe in us. Why Rashid? Why Vot? Why Michele? Why Portia? Why Virginia? And I can only say, why not, if not? Because these artists are very, very important. But the artist we are celebrating his life today, his work speaks volume to me. His love, like what Barry said the other day when we were chatting after the departure of Rashid. She said, Rashid loved those who loved him. And for all the speakers who have spoken today, including Ubaba Moyo, who spoke to Rashid just a week ago, it says a lot to this man we're celebrating his life. And we're celebrating his life in his home. This was his home because he spent most of the time in this gallery. And for us as National Gallery, we would like to say to the family, like I said earlier on, your loss is our loss. But I would like to say to the younger artists, take courage to have the same love that
Rashid had, and to have the same love Rashid had for his own practice. I would like to say drawing as a process to Rashid meant a lot. Painting as a process meant a lot. And his love for his mentors, that include Marshall Baron, Stephen Williams, and many others. It's something which Rashid has always spoken about, those mentors, especially Marshall Baron. And we're standing here looking at these powerful works that Rashid has left with us. And these works will live forever. And these works, let's celebrate them. Let's care about these works, because when we care about these works, we are going to care about Rashid's legacy. The generation that is going to come, these works will remain there as a symbol of a visual artist whose dedication to his practice was more than what you and me expect. And to the family, I will repeat this: value what Rashid has left with you. That number 144 40th Street means a lot to us, means a lot to the artists, not only in Bulawayo, but to the artists dotted around across the globe. I was talking to one of his friends, Steve, who is married to one of our daughter, the daughter of one of the Zimbabwean modernist painter, Baba Undandarika. They are in the UK, but they send their condolences to you, including many others. They send their condolences to you. Nicole Field, who is based in Austria, also sent the condolences. Tafuma Gutsa, who also spent a lot of time with Rashid, send his condolences. But I would also want to remind you that Rashid had another name, if many of you didn't know. Rashid, we knew him as Kudakwashe. Kudakwashe is one of Rashid's name because he says Kudakwashe kutitose tive pano. Kudakwashe kutindive artist. Kudakwashe kutindive one of the great painters of this country. So we value Kudakwashe. Nokuti Kudakwashe was one of us. Kudakwashe meant a lot to so many of us. I could go on and go on and go on, but I would like to say, Inshallah, Allah, Alhamdulillah. And whenever I met Rashid, we could converse and we could share the same dreams. So on behalf of the gallery and the National Gallery Board, I would like to say, Amba Kahle, Tawe Lama Tawe, go well, son of the soil, go well, icon of the visual arts landscape of Zimbabwe, go well, son of the soil, go well, Rashid. Ngiyabonga, asante sana, tatena.
Yeah, thank you very much to the Executive Director of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, Raphael Chikukwa, for that tribute to Rashid Mohammed Kudakwashe Jogee. So we have come to the end of the proceedings this morning. I'm sure you will testify that 1 hour 30 minutes is hardly enough to celebrate a life well lived. So there will be many other commemorative events that we'll be doing on a rolling basis. One of the key ones being an exhibition, a retrospective exhibition. I am making this public announcement to prepare our artists for that kind of exhibition where we need to emphatically honor Rashid Jogee. So we need to put our thinking caps on and have a very powerful, impactful exhibition that will be a befitting tribute to his contribution to the visual arts landscape in Zimbabwe. Last week Monday, I guess that was Rashid's last visit to this space. He just came here late afternoon. around 5 p.m. We were about to close, then we just found him lying on the lawn there, as he was fond of doing on many occasions. Just come in, roll his cigarette, start smoking while lying on the lawn. Then we said, no, Rashid, we are now locking. If we don't leave now, no one will open the gallery for you. So on reflection, we note that was probably his last visit to this particular space just 2 weeks ago. So we say, may his soul rest in peace. This then leaves me to thank, the National Gallery of Zimbabwe staff for putting this event together at very short notice, and also thank the government of Zimbabwe through you, Dr. Thebe, for honoring Rashid, and also through the National Arts Council. It's not a posthumous honor, like you said. He had already been elected, and it gratifies us that at least one of our own was celebrated in his life. We also thank Site for live streaming this event, the visual artists based here and outside the gallery for coming and honoring one of their own, their mentor, their colleague, their friend. The visual arts cannot thrive in Zimbabwe without the visual artists. All the solidarity speakers for coming through at such short notice and giving very emotional, heartfelt speeches. We appreciate you. This recording will also now constitute a part of the memory and legacy of Rashid Jogee. So this brings us to the end. Thank you very much for coming. We have tea and biscuits, nothing dramatic, just tea and biscuits by the balcony there, then, well, in the courtyard rather. Then we do some small networking. But thank you very much. The gallery reopens on Monday after lockdown. We look forward to receiving you in our space. Thank you very much and good day.